All right, so obviously one of the big topics around Unity, which has been blowing up after launch, is that people are having a hard time playing this game. Actually, people are reporting a lot of bugs, a lot of connectivity issues, a lot of weird things happening.
People's faces looking like the moon in Majora's Mask.
Yeah, whoa, that's spooky. So I played over the course of the review probably about 35 to 40 hours on Xbox One and PS4 and PC, mostly on Xbox One. I stumbled across very few, if none of these issues. I don't know. How did you guys like? Yeah, there's the game runs at like a little bit under 30, which is fine.
I mean, it's around.
Okay, so I don't know what problems you're having.
I will say there have been. I've never seen as serious frame rate drops as people are claiming to get. Like I saw one YouTube video where it was like.
Yeah, there's a
4 frames a second, if even maybe.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Really buggy.
I've never experienced anything that bad.
Yeah.
I've noticed it drops down to probably 20, maybe 18 every once in a while if I'm going through like a really crowded area when I'm running really fast.
I definitely think the game chugs. I'm not a guy that's sensitive to frame rate.
You're not
like
a chugger.
It's something running at 30 or locked 30.
Yeah,
like
whatever.
I don't know. Like I'm not that sensitive to it. And I'm playing on the Xbox One, which unusually has a better frame rate than the PS4. And I definitely noticed it. I noticed the frame rate.
Was it?
Well, yeah. I mean,
was it to a point where like diminished? I guess if you notice it, it is affecting your experience because as soon as you're thinking about.
It doesn't make it bad. Though,
I mean, in the case of Assassin's Creed specifically, like that's a game built on fluid movement, and I just definitely felt like it had it's one of the first times in recent memory that I can feel like the frame rate had an impact on how much fun I was having.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that could have just been the animus.
That's kind of. I love that. That's the excuse that Ubisoft can always. All those 2,000 of the 5,000 NPCs on screen are the same person. That's just the animus simulation.
It doesn't know what's going on.
That ain't us. That's the animus. I felt bad because after the review went up, I gave it a 7.8. I really enjoyed the game. A lot of people are tweeting at me like, "Game's broken. Why'd you give it a 7.8?" I'm like. In my 35, I can only tell you
how much Mountain Dew have you spilled in your Xbox.
I can only tell you what my 35 to 40 hours were. Whereas I didn't stumble across faces melting like the
I've never seen anything
Raiders
like
of the Lost
that.
Ark.
I've never seen frame rate drops.
I didn't see anyone
I've seen
go
maybe
through.
the most is like watching a cutscene, like a character will like pass through somebody else in the background.
Yeah, but that was just a ghost. That was a spooky ghost.
It was a spooky ghost in the animus.
Animus ghost. So I haven't actually messed around with the co-op at all. You two have.
Yeah, and I thought it worked great. We were able to get into matches pre-launch.
Pretty quick. I mean, there was a few connectivity issues
but this was
pre-launch,
pre-launch,
but
so
then
there wasn't a ton of people.
after launch, it was a little bit difficult because there were a ton of people on it. But I only got dropped from a session once.
Yeah.
There were never experiences that I had where I'd be like waiting for forever and then you're out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like it was never an issue.
Yeah, I've had good experiences with the co-op, and I've really enjoyed it. I think I don't think it's quite the. I don't know, because when the game was revealed at E3, this was sort of you see the forest ass. Like, this is going to be the game. This is woven in. Like, yes, it is woven in throughout the entire game. You can choose to hop in these co-op missions, 2-player missions, 4-player missions, whenever you want. But to me, they felt like really interesting side quests. It's still not the main reason I'm going to play through Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah. No, honestly, I would have liked the option to play them alone.
Yeah.
And they did, and at least they worked from a technical
You can play
standpoint.
them alone.
You can play some of them alone.
Yeah.
Really?
Like the ones that need 2 to 4 players, you can't play.
But it's lonely. It's like
it's much more difficult.
It's like going to dinner by yourself.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah, I do that
Reading
sometimes.
a book.
I do that sometimes.
Oh,
that got sad.
Like an old man eating soup
so
at a
this game,
restaurant.
I mean, even besides sort of the nuts and bolts of the technical issues, to me, we know that the Assassin's Creed games are games that are made by teams of 1,000 people at 10 different studios all over the world.
I've seen the you can fast forward through the credits.
And it still takes 20 minutes.
I think I read that they're like over 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
And to me, the game feels that way. So even besides like, again, like things that you can specifically point to, like there's a bug right there.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it was someone's job to get 5,000 NPCs on screen.
Yeah.
And they did it. And then there's someone else, literally probably on the other side of the globe, that's like, yo, but these NPCs are dropping the frame rate and they all look the same. But then there's no one it feels like Ubisoft is having trouble connecting the dots in how these games are made. And the guy that was in charge of that crowd behavior is like, yo, I did it. Check that off the list.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a game designed by check marks.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel as problematic as like 3 did, for example, because 3 was plagued by that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's similar. Like
It's
got
similar,
a similar
but it's
vibe.
not nearly as bad.
It doesn't feel.
Go ahead.
No, that's all.
No, I mean that's the interesting thing is because it is the game is on I think they call it 24-hour dev cycle because like they're everywhere from Kiev to Singapore to Montreal to Toronto. Like there are people working on this game 24 hours a day, and yeah, I mean I think you lose a little bit of something by, it's not like it's outsourced, but it's just there's so many cooks in so many different kitchens.
Yeah.
which makes everything kind of confusing.
There's so much in the game.
Yeah.
It's like, take out the ability for you to upgrade your crazy cafe and spar with your partner up on the roof. And take out, have only 20 murder mysteries instead of like 30 or however many there are. Like, cut back a little bit, and make it so that there's 3,000 NPCs on screen instead of 5,000.
Yeah.
And then you'd have a game that's 30 frames per second. You'd presumably have a game that's, closer to being bug-free.
Yeah.
And a game that, in my opinion, it feels soulless, and I feel like they can put some of that soul back in if they
get a groove back.
Yeah, I mean, they're really focused on ticking. I keep coming back to this idea that it strongly feels like a game that they had this big list of goals, and they're like, get there no matter what.
Yeah, no, and then again, keep circling back to the frustrating thing about it is it has those incredible highs.
Yeah.
And you're like, if only it just took these things. I mean, that's just endemic of AAA games nowadays. You need to have X amount of content with a capital C.
I feel like that's definitely part of it. It's like, with this being one of the first games released exclusively for the next-gen consoles, everything from this point forth is going to be the race of who can do what first.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really an apples-to-apples comparison because they're completely different genres, but I'm playing a lot of Dragon Age. Dragon Age! I'm playing some Dragon Age right now. And it's huge and polished.
Yeah.
So there are games that can have their cake and eat it too, and as a result of a compressed development cycle or budgets or whatever, like Assassin's Creed just wasn't able to pull it off, in my opinion.
What do you know what I say about that? Let them eat cake.
Paris!
Get out.